Welcome to part 4 of the multiple choice quiz program in Python. At the end of the previous part we had got up to the stage where we had created the main question frame, and we had put inside that another frame called the heading frame. We are now going to insert the heading label, the question frame, the instruction frame and the instruction label, and we may also get time to put in the begin quiz button. Okay, let's get on with putting in the self.heading label. Now this label we're going to be putting into the heading frame that we've just made. We will use a font of Arial. We'll use 22 pixels. Notice that it doesn't require any units, and it is a piece of text, not a number. Okay, and we'll make it bold. The foreground we'll make green, should stand out against the blue background of the frame. And the background of this I will set to a colour that we're going to later use for quite a bit of the other parts of the various widgets, called Burly Wood. And the text will be welcome to the parts of the flower quiz. Okay, having made that label, hopefully correctly, can't see any obvious errors, let's now pack that and just see how that looks. Okay, no errors, and that's looking pretty good. The blue background of the actual frame, later on if we change that to the same background color as the actual label, that should all blend in, so there's no real need to worry about trying to extend the actual label itself to fill the whole frame, etc. That will take care of itself, and we just use a similar background color. So that's all good. So as you can see here, I've jumped here just a little bit. I've made the question frame inside main question frame. Background color, that Burly Wood again, and the width being 800, same size as the main question frame. The height 320, a little bit of guess and check again. You can play around with the height there until you get what you think is reasonable. Remember, we have to fit later on the question into this, so we do need a reasonable amount of depth. The total depth that we can play with, remember, is this 500 up here. And I've packed that question frame, so let's have a look and see how that looks as well. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. This large brownish box here, this is the question frame that we just made, and that's visually separated from the heading frame because of that pad Y that we put onto the heading frame. Okay, we now want to put the instructions down the bottom here. Okay, so let's see if we can do that. So as you can see, I've put a frame called instructions frame into our program. Once again, it's going to be sitting inside the main question frame. I made the background red, I just wanted to see that standing out against the other frames that we've got there. The height being 40, so that we've got a bit of height once we put the actual label inside that. So I've gone ahead and set pack propagate, so things that go inside the instructions frame won't change size as long as we pack them. And I've packed now the instructions frame. So let's once again run that, see if we're getting what we expect. Okay, and not quite. This shouldn't be a surprise. We've got the red frame that we just made, which is the instructions frame sitting directly underneath the question frame, and that's to be expected because we simply made them in order: the heading frame, the question frame, and then the instruction frame, and they will simply stack one on top of the other depending on the order in which you make them. Now we want this instruction frame to go down the bottom of the main question frame, the orange one. So to achieve that, isn't that difficult? We can specify an option on the pack method here. Let's specify side equals bottom, and let's save that and run that, see if that's going to work for us. Yep, and it does. If we wanted to have a little bit of separation between that bottom instruction frame and the bottom of the main question frame, we could add some pad Y there as well, and I think I will add that in. Okay, and we're now getting that little bit of visual separation there. Okay, last thing I'm going to do in this particular part, I want to add in the actual instruction label. So as you can see here, I've made a label inside called instructions, inside the instructions frame, setting the font. The color of the text will be green. Now this left, justify equals left, we'll need to come back to that because I haven't seen that before. The background color, burly wood, that should stand out against the red background color of the actual frame. The wrap length of 790, once again I'll come back to this because we haven't talked about that before. And the text we're going to put onto that particular label, and then we've packed it. So let's just see what that looks like now. Okay, not too bad, pretty good. Okay, notice that the left hand side of the text here is nicely aligned, and this is due to this justify equals left that we had as an option on the label. If I take that out, and then run the program again, hopefully you can see the obvious difference. Notice that the text is centered now. So if we want the text to be left aligned, we need to have that justify equals left. Now at the same time, let's talk about this wrap length. You can specify how many pixels the text can take up before a new word going over that number will wrap around to the next line. So I've set that to 790. It's probably not strictly necessary, but sometimes you do want to force the text to wrap before the end of the actual label itself. So let's go back and put that justify equals left back in. Okay, just undo a couple of steps there, and yeah, that's looking pretty good. The only other thing which I do want to change, and that is this gap that we've got here. Looks a little awkward with most of the things probably being aligned about here, and then suddenly this text here is going to sort of maybe even jut in a little bit. Although, since the instructions are going to disappear, that's probably not a big issue. But just to show you how we could force this to go further to the left here, let's have a look at a few options we can put onto that pack method. So down here, what we're going to do is we're going to specify an option expand equals true, And let's run the program again. Okay, made absolutely no difference whatsoever. So need to add one other option in, and that is anchor. This is essentially saying that we want the text to, instead of being centered inside that label, to actually be on the left hand side of it. Okay, and we've got more the effect that I was after. So I've got now the text being left aligned and also starting on the left hand side of that label. Bit of a big gap here. That's not too much of an issue. Can't really do too much about that. Even if I chose wrap length being 800, this very long word here will still wrap around. Okay, so we've got now the heading, we've got our question frame, nothing in that at the moment, and we have the instruction frame with the label. Next time we're going to put in to the middle here that begin quiz button.